David Gaspers claimed another championship last season and took 8 wins in 12 rounds in the process. As impressive as he's been, the good news for other drivers is that the points have once again reset. And to even the playing field, the opening race takes place at a track that is extremely familiar to most of the field. Will Laguna Seca see the same old story continue, or will someone get new come and rise to the top? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Walker. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This popular American road course has been a part of iRacing since the beginning, but for our viewers who aren't a subscriber on the service, we have our handy track guide ready to introduce you. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2.25 miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Have today, which is rather foggy, but Ryan, like I said, most of the drivers know this place like the back of their hand, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of these drivers that are in the series have probably raced here at some point, at one point or another. And yeah, this track in real life has also hosted the IndyCar Championship and also the WeatherTech Championship and a whole range of other series. But tonight it will be round 1 of the Weekend Warriors new season. The track is 2.24 miles in length for 3.60 kilometers. It has 11 turns, and tonight it will be a 40-minute race.
And as always, we want to remind you that the Weekend Warriors is brought to you by Sim Stickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they have you covered. And now, if you use the promo code GSRC10 when purchasing, you get 10% off of all orders for the whole season. You can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. We mentioned the championship wrapping up last season, as starting the new one. So let's take a look at how those points were. As you can see, with Gaspers winning a whole slew of victories, and 165 points behind in second place. Reese, 236 back from him. Really, it was close to you get to 4th and 5th. Forza and McAreevy were about 5 points apart come the final race. Otherwise, everybody else seems to have really spread apart up at the top. Thankfully, we also have a Spec 2 championship. This is the amateur championship. Ryan, how did that wind up?
So the Spec 2 championship was a real close championship that went right down to the wire, but in the end it was Larry McLeod that took that championship over PJ Gowdy, who finished 68 points behind him. And then rounding out the top 3 was Dominic Bureau, Mr. Consistent. He didn't win any races. He won a few races actually in the Spec 2 class, but yeah, in the end finished in the top 3. And then Greg Stefani had a bit of bad luck towards the end of the season, I seem to recall, finishing in 4th. And then Kenneth Bately rounded out the top 5 with some very good drives.
McLeod, of course, gets promoted to the Spec 1 field this season because of that victory in the championship. Well, let's look at today's race in particular with the race details. And as we mentioned, we are in round 1. Now, they have a pit stop in this race because they've limited the fuel compared to what the real cars can carry in them. So even though it's 40 minutes, they will have to come in, get a splash and dash, and take back off. They also ration the points in this series. Now, what that means is that the first place driver will always get 100 and the last place driver will always get 25. So even though we have 50 plus drivers here today, and it is a big field, the last place will still get those 25 points, and it will just be smaller spreads between the drivers. They do get penalty points if they wind up having off tracks or running into other cars or spins and whatnot. So for every 10 incident points, they lose 3 points in the championship. They also have a spare car waiting for them in the pits if they get too much damage. Most of the drivers will be waiting to use that during their pit stop so that they don't have to make an extra stop during this race. As always, you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe. It's very easy to do so. If you go below the video here on YouTube, if you're watching it on YouTube, there is a big red button that says subscribe. Click that. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. Right now, qualifying is going on, and Maurizio Naselli is currently our highest qualifier. And for all this talk, wondering about David Gaspers, we have not seen him show up yet. So we're not sure if he's going to be here today because at this point, it is awful late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. David Gaspers, he'd done it a few times last season. He would leave it until the very last minute to join the session. But there's a few people in the field that could give him a run for his money this season if they get a chance. Maurizio Naselli was one of them last season. He was quick, but never seemed to be able to challenge David. And you've also got the likes of Jerry McAreevy and also the likes of Hugh Haycox as well.
Yeah, really, Watkins Glen is the only time that Naselli managed to finish ahead of him on track, I believe, looking at the stats. And yes, indeed, that was the only time that Naselli was able to beat him because he took the victory there in the final round, did Maurizio. He's got a good chance today, but Larry McLeod going straight from the top to the top again because he won the championship in the Spec 2, and now he is sitting on the front row out here. Ian Wilson, not quite so much. There's Larry McLeod on our screen, the number 33 with the quickest time of 37.5, and he's getting ready to finish up this lap here. Ryan, he's only got a little more than a tenth to make up to Maurizio, so this is still pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry McLeod finishing on top, like you say, finishing on, as he gets a bit sideways on the exit of the final corner. Yeah, finished on top in the Spec 2 class last season and trying to be on top in Spec 1 this season. So as he goes across the line and unfortunately loses a few tenths after that little wig.
Now, for the Spec 2 championship, resetting as well, we have Dominique Bureau as our highest driver in that class right now. Even though all the cars do look the same, and they are the same cars actually still, so there's really no power difference between Spec 1 and Spec 2 or anything different at all, except for the drivers who have been classified as their I-rating being low enough to be in there. So if you're wondering how to tell them apart, watch for the numbers on the cars. 200 and over, and they are a Spec 2 driver. Now, anything underneath, even though all the cars do look the same, and they are the same cars as Spec 1 class. So right on board with the Canadian now. He's actually getting a little bit of a tow from Kenneth Bately here. We were talking about that before the race, Ryan. This track really doesn't give a lot of draft, but at least it's still a little bit there, it seems.
Yeah, this Bureau's getting a little bit of a tow. I think the draft, like I said before, I don't think it'll matter that much around here. You might, depending on how close you are, you might be able to get a bit of a slipstream on the home straight. But I think the slipstream around here probably counts round about half a second, I think.
As they come across the line, I think that was an outlap for Dominique because it seemed to be a slow one for him at a 144. Van Dormelen, let's see, actually does improve by 2 tenths, but I think he'll stay in 20th, so does not climb any higher on the timing sheets. He's only got half a tenth to make up to Dobek, who is in 19th. We're watching Jeff Jacobson, who is one of the drivers who's yet to set a time out here. The majority of our field has put one in. I think we got 47 times on the board right now. Mark Coffin, not one of those, I don't think, as Maurizio Naselli getting ready to finish another lap. See if he can extend that gap to Larry McLeod. Oh, he's on an out lap, so he's not going to extend it this time. So where is Larry and Hugh, our second and third drivers in comparison? Looks like Hugh is just coming through the corkscrew as Larry's behind him in turn 6. Tom Bradwell crossing the line, and I don't think that 106 is correct, or else he is really flying. Yeah, he must have had an off somewhere in there, so that is not correct what you saw on your screen. Look at from third down to, let's see, it's about 10th place. Am I seeing this correctly? There is 0.2 of a second for about 6 or 7 cars.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how close those guys are. It's just proof that, again, the Weekend Warriors is really close when it comes to these guys, and also lap times. The league really close, and all these drivers are looking at the times throughout the field are relatively close.
Murakami is one of those, and he looked fast in the warm-up. He was second on the timing sheets, if my memory serves me correctly. And right now he's in 7th. Radosti still looking for time for himself. Now what's curious is Sadro seems to be doing very poorly today. I noticed this earlier in the qualifying session and doesn't seem to have improved.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to see Daniel's down so far in the grid. He's still close to the top 10, but it's not where we're used to seeing him. Normally he's qualifying up at the front, close to David Gaspers, but at the moment Daniel seems to be struggling a little bit.
Well, he's got a little bit of time left to get a better time in, as Naselli does go quicker. And it's now a 37.2 as our fastest time. That's 0.3 faster than Larry McLeod, who's still chasing him. Looking through to see who's the next one behind Bureau on the Spec 2 race. And I think we have to go all the way down to 17th, if I'm seeing right. Lucas Enderman. That's more than 10 positions between Dominique and Lucas. That's a lot of time between himself and the next driver. But again, Dominique is in the midst of those drivers who are very, very tight on qualifying time. So it might be that they are actually relatively close on pace. It's just, well, there's a lot of cars close on pace.
Yep, absolutely. Dominic's one of those drivers that improved towards the end of last season. Like I said, he was Mr. Consistent and got the results, and he was rewarded with a top 3 finish in the Spec 2 Championship. But he's kicking off the season so far in a good way, up in P6 at the moment, and also Chris Murakami as well. So 2 of those guys have definitely improved.
Oh, Gary Wobolt's not going to improve. That 215 spins around, and unless he really gets hustling to the line, he might not be able to start another lap. This is our pole sitter coming around that final hairpin amidst the fog here in the valley. As he comes across the line, is he going to go even quicker yet? The 37.250 stays put. He must have had an off track, so he's got at least 2 more tries with about 1:50 left.
As Paul Gordon spins in the final corner, down in 40th at the moment, and waiting to see if he can try and get going again as Michael Dobek comes round the final corner, and it looks like he might be on a lap that could move him further up the grid.
Let's watch and see, and yes, looks like he goes from 19th to 16th. Also, Antonio Reese gets onto the second row. The 007 has moved himself into third, so he's found just a little bit of time last time through, about 0.2 of a second. Haycox is actually just responding now, and he does not have a timed lap that time. So this is going to be his last opportunity with less than a minute left on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys just under 1 minute remaining in the session, so whoever crosses the line, it'll be their last chance to try and improve improving their position as Ian Haycox is coming round the final corner, and it looks like yeah, it looks like you might have got an off-track possibly, unless my lifetime is playing up again.
Yeah, I think he had something go wrong there on that lap. Watching Michael Shaw right now. The Canadian is in 10th, so he's within those top 5 rows. But as he crosses the line, he does not improve, unfortunately. 30 seconds left. Looking to see who are high runners. Daniel Sadro, he's gotten up to 11th. He's coming around to finish a lap right now. And he is definitely hustling the car as he has a big slide coming out of the final corner. Hopefully that didn't slow him down too much. Down into the line. What's it going to be? A 38.3. Did not get a quicker time.
Yeah, so yeah, I think just looking throughout the list as well, I think there's a familiar name back on the grid that I see as Aaron Vogley, I think it, or however, hopefully that. Vaguely, sorry, my bad. Yeah, good to see Aaron back out. Good to see Aaron back out in chat today. One of the drivers that I've liked watching a few times. He's not always the quickest, but when he keeps out of trouble, he's more than a consistent driver and always seems to pick up points.
A lot of drivers abandoning their last lap, practicing their pit entry. Vandenberg coming around. Chauvin just finished there. See Ian Haycox coming around for one last lap. He sits in 20th, but he's going to abandon that as he comes down into the pit entry. Richard Franco behind him. Jacobson not going to take his final lap. Michael Shaw will. 10th place driver. So here goes Franco down in 32nd. Let's see if he can go quicker than that 39.3. No, he cannot. Michael Shaw. He's on a decent lap, I believe, but it does not go quicker.
Donald Fitterer coming around to complete his lap, and it looks like a decent lap at the moment. He just needs to get round this final corner and hopefully he gets a clean exit as he gets a bit bouncy over the curb. And yeah, coming up to the line, and it looks like he could possibly improve his lap as he comes across the line now.
Nope, he was a little slower, sadly. The Indiana driver, Aaron Vagley. Hoosier does not go faster as well. Antonio Reese up into third. He could potentially get a pole, but no, not this time as he has a slow one. Murakami behind him also does not improve. Is there anybody after them? That is everybody. So that will solidify our grid. We've got a lot of people to go through, so let's get started on our starting grid with Maurizio Naselli on the pole. And he's got about those 3/10 over Larry McLeod, who again has really been going from strength to strength in second place. Antonio Reese managed to get it into third late in the session with Hugh Haycox outside of him in fourth position. Fred Desai will be P5 today. Then Emil Orza in sixth place. Dominique Bureau in seventh is followed by Chris Murakami in eighth position. Ramon Regalato's on the inside of row 5. Michael Shaw rounds out the top 10.
Yep, starting in 11th from row 6 is Daniel Sadro. Alongside him is Ed Doherty in 12th. 13th is Jerry McAreevy. Alongside him is James Tyburn. 14th, 15th is Kenneth Bately. 16th is Miroslav Jurasek. Quite unusual to see Juraslav down there. 17th is Michael Dobek. And alongside him in row 9 is Stephen Elson in 18th. Row 10 is consisted of Lucas Enderman in 19th. And rounding out that grid is Ian Haycox in 20th.
21st is Alejandro Liero with Tim Van Dormelen in 22nd. Aaron Vagley was only able to get 23rd. Bob Kern starts
17th is Michael Dobek.
Then on the next row, it is Paolo Brim in at 25th. Yuri Cox starts 26th, and then 27th goes to Tom Bradwell. Jim McGill starting P28 today. Donald Fitter will be 29th, and Kevin Boubard, I think that's a new name for us, will start in 30th.
In row 16 and 31st is Jeb Jacobs, and Richard Franco is alongside him in 32nd. 33rd is William Ferry. 34th is Dan Beavick. 35th is Jeff Cantor. 36th is Ian Wilson. 37th is Mark Silver. Martin van de Berg in 38th. 39th is Mark Coffin, and rounding out the row 20 is Paul Godden in 40th.
Jula Verkolen down in 41st is already, we've got the cars taking off on their pace lap. 42nd to Noah Hambai. Then you've got Frank Radosti in 43rd, followed by Gary Wobold in 44th. Behind them, Philippe Chauvin starts 45th today. Sandy Satullo in 46th, and Glenn Powley in 47th. Samuel Dick is 48th, and he's the last driver to get a time in. 49th goes to Nick Carty. Nico Schuk to 50th. And then from there, we've got Guillermo Cravo and Robert Eel as the last of our field. Cravo's not in the session. Neither is Nick Carty and Nico Schuk. So I believe that should give us 49 drivers who will take the green flag today. This is the first pole position we've seen from Naselli, I believe. As I want to say last season was the first time he showed up in this series. If not, it's been a while, and it could be maybe first pole in a number of seasons. We'll have to double check on the stats on that one. We ride on board with him. This is one of those tricky corners, though, that I've always felt is always a danger on this track. Turn 6 here, Ryan.
Yeah, it's one of those corners that turn 6 you want to try and get a good entry and carry as much speed as possible up to the corkscrew, but the corkscrew as well is one of those there's no difficult corners that the entry you can get right, but the exit is one of those ones that you have to try and get it spot on, because if you take too much curve on the exit, it can make the car bottom out and just spin you round.
Almost done with this pace lap now as they come up to the penultimate corner. Porsche pace car leading the way, but soon it will be Naselli who will have control of the field. But the pace car ducks away before they get to the final corner, so Naselli essentially is able to take off whenever he wants. Is he going to jump him coming off the final hairpin? The answer is yes. He immediately gets on the throttle. Larry McLeod gets caught napping slightly as Hugh Haycox almost gets into the back of him. Antonio Reese getting in single file behind those two. In fact, look at the front of the field, all single file before they even get to the first corner. This could be orderly or this could be chaos. We'll see. Dive to the outside from Orza on Antonio Reese, but he isn't quite able to take the position. Behind them, it's looking relatively orderly. I'm not seeing any accidents in the back of the field yet.
Yeah, everyone managed to make it through the first couple of corners, and everyone was actually sensible into turn 1, and they're still being sensible. So far through lap 1, it's been, is someone spun around further down the path?
That's Franco. Richard Franco in the 273 out of turn 3 is facing backwards, and he essentially is going to have to wait for everybody to go by before he'll get an opening to be able to take off. But up at the front, you can see Naselli is leading the way as they go through the scary turn 6. McLeod giving chase. A bad exit for Hugh Haycox with Antonio Reese starting to threaten. He looks a little bit to the outside as they come up into the braking. The side's better of it, though, and they all accordion together into this tricky chicane.
Yep, everyone's coming through the corkscrew. It looks clean so far, and quite surprisingly, or I'm quite surprised anyway, everyone's managed to keep it clean and has been sensible so far. So a good way to kick off the first round of the season at the moment.
Coming around to complete the first lap, it looks like everything is good for the front of the pack. So this is a good start for a 40-minute race, especially the beginning of the season always brings with it perils of new drivers and a big field like this causing major chaos. But I'd say they've handled it well, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. As up at the front at the moment, Mauricio Naselli is still leading, but he's under pressure from Larry McLeod and Hugh Haycox, and also behind those guys is Antonio Rees and Imo Orza and also Fred Desai.
Had some issues with Paulo Bream and Kevin Bubar. Both of them able to keep going, though, since they're offs. Right on board with Naselli, 0.7 of a second over McLeod. Haycox threatening a little bit on Larry, but he doesn't have an opportunity here into turn 5. He backs out of it and just tries to size him up for later.
As they come through the kink at the moment, as Larry McLeod misses the turn in for the kinks ever so slightly, but still manages to carry the speed. But it looks like Hugh Haycox has maybe got a run heading down to the corkscrew, and he tries to go around outside, but that's not good. As there's a bit of contact between the two, and Haycox bounces across the gravel.
Yeah, he's going to get a slowdown penalty from that one. He already has lost 3 positions. Question is, has he served that slowdown enough by now, or is he going to be stuck in the middle of a pack trying to give it up? Yeah, he's still got to give up more time as they all stream on by. That sends him down to 9th after sitting and looking at a 2nd place. Antonio Reese already on the attack on Larry McLeod. As I think we had an issue with Jerry McAreevy. I think he's had a connection problem, so we don't need to go to him right now, but he is flashing a lot on my timing and scoring.
Yeah, same here as back up at the front. Mauricio Naselli is actually at the moment anyway, he's managed to build that gap up big time to about 2.2 seconds. So Larry McLeod is starting to build a bit of a trend behind him.
Certainly seems like Maurizio's grabbing this with both hands, as Michael Shaw, I think, no, he just lost a position. Hugh Haycock's moving his way back through and got himself into 10th. Into 9th, rather. Our timing and scoring is going to be a little screwy because Jerry McAreevy seems to have taken a tow and is now in pit lane. So is Selva. See if we can figure out what happened to either of those. I have my suspicions with Jerry. He's just decided his connection was bad enough. He parked it. Up to the top of the hill yet again here. The drivers weave their way through. Hugh Haycock's doing what he can to try and get into the mix here. Now we look at Orza and Murakami. This is a battle for 6th place. Fred Desai at the front of this trio.
Yeah, Fred Desai's been one of those drivers. He's always kept out of trouble and got consistent results, but behind him is Murakami, and also the Spec 2 leader at the moment, by the looks of it, is Dominic Bureau. So we know that Dominic's not one of those aggressive drivers. He likes to play the waiting game, like he said a few times last season when being interviewed. So he's just sitting there, more than happy to sit there and see what happens.
Certainly seems like he's playing. Oh, that's a big mistake for Murakami. So there's that patience paying off. Bureau now up to 6th with that.
Yep, as Bureau runs wide on the gravel slightly, which will give Murakami a slight chance to catch back up to him. But Bureau's just like he just done there, just playing the waiting game and picked up position, and the next person in front of him is Emil Orza.
Got a bit of ways up to Emil Orza though. He's a second ahead now because of I guess Dominique having to slow up to try and get by the problems of Chris Murakami. Same thing happening with McLeod and Naselli. Oh, did Haycox have more problems? Hugh Haycox losing yet more positions. This has been a bad day for him.
Yeah, it seems to be it seems to happen with Hugh sometimes. He has a good qualifying, and then at the early stage of the race, he seems to just have it. Oh, is he running wide on the gravel again?
Yeah, and what caused him to lose positions is he cut turn 6. I'm not sure if he just missed his turn in or what happened, but he went straight across the dirt. As it sounds like we've also had a wreck for James Tabor. Not exactly sure what that wreck involved, but I can see that he's already left the session. So, wow, and a strangely sloppy race for Hugh Haycox. We're going to look at 2nd place now because Antonio Reese still working on Larry McLeod.
Yeah, it seems to be Larry McLeod's not able to keep up the pace like Naselli or even Antonio Reese at the moment. It seems to be maybe he doesn't want to push too hard at the moment and just trying to keep hold of 2nd place. But Antonio Reese, if he gets a chance, he'll go for it.
It's keeping him in check as we ride on board with the 007. And see how close he's staying with him. Both of them pushing hard through turn 6, continuing to climb up the hill. Very good exit from Antonio, but it's hard to pass here into the corkscrew, so he's not attempting it quite yet. Already we're seeing a lot of dust kicked up as drivers making mistakes in that chicane have brought it onto the track.
it's a difficult corner to get slowed down for the corkscrew on the entry anyway. It's so hard because in a way you're kind of turning at the same time while you're braking, but it's one of those corners I find really difficult to get right, and I think it's just the nature of the corner.
You can see they are trailing along Fred Desai as well, back behind them. He's about 0.8 of a second back, so he's got some time that he's got to make up to get involved in this. We're still very early into the race. We haven't even hit 10 minutes into this thing, and I don't think we're even into the pit window being open yet. Down in 9th place, Miroslav Juracek, ahead of Daniel Sadro. Now, we've known Sadro not to be the best of qualifiers in the past, but this was pretty miserable for him. He's only gone up one position since the start of the race, from 11th to 10th. He's working on getting one more. It's Juracek that you see right in front of him.
Yeah, I think it seems to be with Daniel sometimes. Some tracks he seems to be really quick at, and then other tracks it seems to be he's a bit not as quick, but yeah, a bit of a miserable start. Not a miserable start to the race, but not the start that Daniel wanted. So yeah, he's right behind Miroslav, and I think we're just watching Miroslav as well. Miroslav seems to be pushing really hard.
And Miroslav's got a carrot in front of him because that's Ramon Regalado. That's the dark blue machine you can kind of see up in the distance. There you go. And the number 35. They come down through the corkscrew one more time. They're all going to stay tightly packed together. One mistake is going to open this up. Now they're being joined by Hugh Haycox as well on his recovery drive.
Yep, so Hugh Haycox has managed to get his head together, and then he's got these guys back up, and is this Daniel Sadro closes right up Miroslav under braking.
Yeah, and Ramon went way wide there through the final corner. He knows it. He immediately goes defensive because Juracek's got a decent run. This is one of those spots where you get a little bit of the slipstream, covers all the way off into the inside. Juracek weaving back out to the outside, maybe an over-under. No, he's going to try and go the long way around. Now he backs out of it, looks for the launch off the turn. Both of them off the course. Sadro about the only one in that group that manages to keep it on the pavement, but no position change among any of the four.
Yeah, I think Regalado's slightly slower than Juracek, so Miroslav is trying to get by as quickly as possible, but Miroslav making that slight mistake has allowed Sadro to close up on him again, and also allow Haycox to join this pack as well now.
Boy, a lot of mistakes happening in this group as yet again a little wheels off into the dirt for Miroslav Juracek. Sadro not able to take advantage. Down and through turn 6. A big slide from Miroslav once again. He's feeling the pressure, making a lot of errors. And Hugh Haycox thinking about 3 wide up into the corkscrew? No, he's not. He says that is not quite the time for it. Still, an attack from Sadro becomes in a defense because Haycox almost able to get by with him going wide. He pokes his nose to the inside but gets chopped off. Now he's going to get another chance as they come up to the penultimate turn. And then the final corner here into the hairpin, but he has a bad exit. Oh, and Sadro's going to take an early pit stop.
Yeah, that's very interesting that Sadro decides to pit early. Maybe he's trying to do an undercut by pitting early and maybe using the Stevie Ray strategy.
Yeah, I get the sense that he was not happy with all the action that was happening around him. So Sadro trying to get himself a little bit of clear track maybe, and return back with some open air. Let's go to second place. Larry McLeod leading Antonio Reese, and now Fred Desai has indeed caught them. It's come down 0.4 of a second. They've dropped Dominique Bureau. He has fallen back. There's a little bit of a battle in that group back with them. So we've got 2 packs of 3 going on up at the front of the field.
Yeah, some of this pack, these 2 packs at the front of the field have managed to pull away. And also in the cell, he's maintaining that gap at the moment to Larry McLeod around about 2 seconds. So McLeod's a little busy keeping his eyes on Antonio Rees and also Fred Desai.
And I think Sadro's move might pay off because I'm looking at him and he is down in 23rd in the middle of nothing. There is no cars behind, no cars ahead, so he can just start plowing away at quick laps. This really was a bit of a clever call. At least it's looking like it for the time being.
I was a bit surprised that he pitted so early, but as also the battle for P6 is still going on at the moment, and it looks like yeah, Dominant Bureau is under attack from Orza and Murakami. So yeah, Bureau's kind of dropped his pace a little bit, but maybe just doesn't want to overdrive the car at the moment.
And if Dominique is worried about that Spec 2 championship, well, he doesn't... Oh, Murakami, did he just get into Orza? Wow, that was a hard hit. He was a long way back. I think I'm watching the replay on mine. I think he may have managed to not touch him. I'm watching on board still, and I'm not seeing damage on here. But boy, he got about an inch away. Okay, it must have been the lightest of touches. You can see just a little crinkle on the nose.
Yeah, I think Murakami might have just got caught out, possibly just by Orza. Maybe Orza, as the battle for P2 is still going on at the moment, and Antonio Ruiz is right on the tail of McLeod as they head down to the corkscrew, and also Desai is on the tail of Antonio Ruiz. So got his butt. As Reyes goes. Oh, that might be a slowdown for Reyes, possibly.
I think it is. Yeah, he's having to give up the position. I'm not sure if he was caught out by McLeod or what, but he got awful close to the back of him. Fred Desai now bumps himself up. I think we've had an incident with Alejandro Liero behind them. This is an 18th place. Yeah, this is a turn 6 incident. This is one of those scary moments. I think, did he manage? No, he got a big hit. He definitely made major contact with Yuri Cox in this. So watch out of turn 6. Lero, excuse me. To get his name right. It was a wobble, and that sent him out into the dirt. There was no catching the car. Oh, boy. That was Yuri Cox in the number 286. It just nailed him.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Alejandro there. He just he lost. He lost the rear end rider on board. Oh, I have to say I feel sorry for Yuri in that incident. He just had nothing he could do in that instance.
All right, we've had more pitters. Hugh Haycox among them, and he's actually coming out right with Daniel Sadro. He might actually be side by side. They are. Sadro's got the inside and just noses ahead. If I'm not mistaken, Hugh Haycox was well behind him earlier, was he not? Or no, actually he was right with him when he just pitted. So that barely worked out in favor of Sadro.
Yeah, that was a good call from Sadro. He just managed to pip Hugh Haycox on the pit.
So as we ride on board with Hugh now, they're a little bit back in the pack, but again, they've already got their pit stops done, and pretty much everybody in front of them has yet to come in. Oh, and Larry McLeod. Larry McLeod is in, so he's going to relinquish his second place, his track position, for an early stop. I wonder if he's seen some of these quick drivers behind him who have pitted and has decided to try and cover them off.
Quite. Sadro is managing to gain more positions, or just about to gain more positions possibly, but he's under huge pressure from Hugh Haycox, and Haycox, from his onboard I'm watching at the moment, he looks really racy.
And they've got traffic in front of them. That's Lero, who had that big contact. I'm surprised they're not gobbling him up quicker. Larry McLeod is out and going. He's going to be out easily ahead of these two. So he will be our highest pitter now.
Sorry, Joe.
I was going to say, it tells you how little the aerodynamics matter here, because Lero, who doesn't seem to be losing too much pace, even with a very damaged front that we could see on some of these camera shots. We've switched up to Murakami now, still dealing with Orza and Bureau ahead of him.
Yep, rider on board with Orza at the moment, and he's putting huge pressure on Bureau, and I don't know if I was Bureau, I'd maybe try a different strategy, maybe come into the pits and see if he could try and stay in front of these guys or try and go as long as possible. But it seems to be at the moment he's holding Orza and Murakami up ever so slightly.
Coming up to Vandenberg, this is a lapped car. This is not for position, but great heads up from the 263. He sees them. He's going to pull off to the left, although they're trying to pull a little bit of a slipstream from him, getting every inch that they can. Oh, and what happened to Hugh Haycox in the corkscrew? Oh, no. Is Sadro involved? Trying to watch on the replay. No, this is a self-spin. Oh, as there was other cars off ahead of him, and he actually makes contact with Gradwell as he tries to get going. Robert Eel also involved. So this must have started... Oh, wow. Okay, this is very bizarre. Starts with Robert, the 387 with a self-spin. And then we get the next car in. I'm trying to remember who that was. I just said his name, Gradwell. And then Hugh spins as well on his own. Oh. Not expecting Gradwell to come back in front of him.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It's not been the best races for Hugh. It started off well and it just went downhill, and yeah, just one of those races unfortunately as Gradwell was into the pits. And looking back at the leader, Maurizio Naselli.
With a handy 3-second gap to Fred Desai after most of the drivers behind him pitting. In fact, Desai's more worried about Antonio Reese behind him. Naselli's not coming in this time. Neither is Desai or... Oh, no, Reese is. So the 007 thinks it's time to go. So Larry McLeod is the one we want to watch. Orza and Murakami also pitting. Yuracek does not. Regalado does not. The 007 looking for his stall. McLeod's just coming to the final corner right now. Antonio is in his stall. He's getting his service and he's done, but he's got to get his speed up as McLeod's already coming towards the start-finish line. But I think, well, this is actually going to be quite close. There you can see him, that gray-colored car. That's Larry McLeod off to the right. The pink and the white is Antonio Reese, and he's going to get him.
Yeah, that was very close in the pit, except that Reyes managed to just get out in front of McLeod, and I think it's at the moment it's advantage Antonio.
Well, now that Antonio's got the clear air, well, theoretical clear air, I guess, he's got Donald Fitter in front of him, so he'll want to dispose of him quickly because Donald is yet to pit. Can he do something to run down Naselli?
Yeah, it's more than possible, but it just depends if he can keep up the pace and keep up the same pace as Maurizio. But I think at the moment it seems that Naselli's got just slightly quicker.
Fred Desai now pits in response. He was with Antonio. Can he manage to get out ahead of Larry McLeod as well, considering how close they're fighting? But, oh man, Antonio's got his hands full. He is still having trouble getting by Donald Fitterer. Is Fitterer going to pit? Yes, he is. So that releases Antonio, but the damage might already be done.
More than possible as Fred decides just to finish in his pit stop, and it looks like Antonio might get by him, but Fred's coming out the pits, so it's going to be really close.
So about half a second slower for Fred. As they come down into the braking, he's got to use this pit exit lane. It's very narrow around here, but you got to maximize it, and he is going to get out ahead of him. Fred Desai moves himself ahead of Antonio Reese. All this happening behind our leader, who continues to just pound around this track, putting good laps in the number 44.
Yeah, that was a good pit stop from Fred. He managed to, he must have had a good pit entry and a good pit exit, as we've seen. Managed to get out in front of Antonio Reese and also Larry McLeod. So, yeah, Fred taking advantage of the clear track.
It's kind of wild, though. These three were together when before they pitted. And then when they came out, they're together again, but in completely different order. You can tell from the way that Desai is taking every inch of track, he is pushing hard. Now it's going to get interesting because this is a lapped car. This is Robert. Is he going to, he's going to take the racing line. He's not going to let him by quite yet. This could be holding him up. Is Antonio going to get an opportunity? Not quite. It's rainy curve, hard to make passes in here, so he has to sit and stay patient.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for that back marker. I think he couldn't really do anything. He just had to get through the corner, and once on the exit, he just move over and let him by. Fred, Antonio, and Larry managed to get by without any issues, but Antonio Rees is right behind Fred Desai now.
Looks like Ramon Regalado, another one to pit. That's going to gift them another position. Ramon back out behind Daniel Sadro and probably behind Orza as well. So we're waiting on 6 cars up at the front to pit. There's a few in the mid-pack as well that have yet to take their stop. We're getting towards the end of the pit window. This race is actually kind of flying by.
I was about to mention that as well. Is it just me, as the race went by really quickly? And also, there doesn't seem, at the moment anyway, there doesn't seem to have been as many incidents or crashes like we expected around Laguna Seca. So fair play to these guys. So yeah, the battle for P4 is going on at the moment between, it looks like, Tim Van Dormelen and Michael Dobet.
Van Dormelen, the one we see ahead in the orange. We're on board with Dobek, watching and stalking. These are 2 of those drivers that we mentioned that still need to come in and take their fuel to make it to the end of this race. See if either one elects. Nope, they're going to keep it going, maybe try and run it dry.
Yep.
You mentioned the DNFs. I believe we've got 45 cars still running. We'll double check on that number. It looks to me roughly 45. So yeah, that's considering 49 starters, that's actually pretty impressive.
Indeed, there's up at the moment as well. It's still Nacella leading, but Dominic Bureau has managed to get up to second place at the moment. But of course, he still has to make his pit stop.
Gonna watch Dominique Bureau, who's up to the dizzying heights of second place, but still leading the Spec 2 race. He's got a 3-second gap back to Miroslav Juracek. Both of them need to come in. If you're watching the timing and scoring tower, wondering who's going to come out where, it's looking like 32 seconds is the typical time lost. That was Philippe Chauvin you saw off track on the side of your screen. That was one of our back markers who gets it going out of turn 6. So, and our leader pits. Our leader is in. Now, shouldn't be too many dramas here, Ryan, because he seemed to have pulled a pretty good gap.
Yeah, Maurizio should basically make his pit stop and should come back out still in the lead, as I think Dominic Bureau has went across the line to pick up the lead, or take the lead I should say.
Yeah, he's actually going to lead this lap even.
So it looks like Dominic saved enough fuel to do another lap, but yeah, we've got Antonio Reyes and Fred Desai and Larry McLeod coming round as well. This will be close, but I don't think it'll be that close, as Maurizio is just leaving the pits now. So yeah, still heading out the pits in the lead.
Yeah, he had enough of a gap. It'd be highly surprising if Reese actually overtook him. Now, catching him is another thing. And it does look like Antonio's brought it down a little bit, but Antonio's actually, it goes way wide, and there goes Fred Desai back through. Somewhere we missed that Fred had gotten passed by Antonio, but he's now giving it right back.
Yep, it looks like Antonio just carried a little bit too much speed into turn 1, but he managed to hold it, but also it gave Fred Desai a chance to make a move and, yeah, pick up P6. So it's still really, really close between these guys, and not far away from this pack as well is Chris Marikami in P9.
Right now we're waiting on Bureau, Juracek, Van Dormelen, and Vaguely to come pit. So 4 drivers, with Naselli being the lead driver, 2 have pitted. It's looking likely that he can take it home as long as he doesn't make any mistakes from here. And that was WeatherTech you saw in the background ducking down the pit lane.
And amazingly, Dominic Bureau has saved enough fuel to do one more lap. So I thought he would have been on this lap, but fair play to Dominic. He saved enough fuel to do 2 more laps.
We hope. We hope it's enough fuel. I mean, we've seen that before. Drivers who push it that much too far. WeatherTech, Van Dormelen, vaguely also in. So other than Jeff Cantor, who hasn't reached pit entry yet, and Radosti, Franco needs to pit, and Paulo Bream. Those are all drivers that still haven't reached pit entry yet. So they could yet still come in, and we could see Dominique Bureau as the driver who's gone 1 lap farther than anybody else, literally. So Cantor is in. So he can't make it. Got a ways to wait on some of these back markers to see if they can go another lap. Riding on board with our leader, 18 seconds back to Naselli, so he will definitely get that lead back. And Dominique is starting to do some lifting and coasting. I think he pushed it too far.
He might get away with it though, because this is a downhill section, so he could back off the throttle and just let it roll. But I agree, Dominic's maybe just pushed it a little bit, maybe 1 lap too much. But if he gets into the, I thought he was going to go for another lap there. I was going to say it would have been crazy to try and attempt that, but he's into the pits now.
Does he have enough to get to his stall too? Because it's it's uphill, and the car is not going at full tilt. This is not good. He's going to start losing some time. We had a problem with Chris Murakami in the meantime. Through the exit of the corkscrew, he spun it off and hit the wall.
Just looked at the replay to see what happened, and it looks like he turns into the corkscrew, and he not sure what happened. I think the car just bottomed out on the exit and just it spun him around and into the.
Bureau's in for a long time. Something is wrong with Dominique Bureau. He's actually going to lose the Spec 2 lead here potentially. Where is our next Spec 2 driver? Frank Radosti, who's also in pit lane and also in for a long time. Are we going to get a Spec 2 driver out on track? Tom Gradwell's the next one, down in 23rd.
Yeah,
I take that back. Vaguely has gone by. Vaguely inherits the Spec 2 lead as finally Bureau gets it going. No, he does not. No, he's still in there. It's a whole minute. What is going on?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was watching Bureau, and it was like he was moving the car forward and then backwards. So I don't know if it doesn't look like he missed his pit box. It could be a glitch with iRacing and the fueling possibly, or something's went wrong on the technical side.
That is a shame. We've heard of that in previous races, that there's been a known pit bug. I guess it hasn't totally been solved yet. Meanwhile, we're riding on board with Vaguely, with Ramon Regalado actually looking at Aaron, and he's going to try and slip up the inside coming into the corkscrew. Again, this is difficult to get those passes done, and he isn't quite there.
Well, I thought it was going to end up in disaster between those two, but fair play to them. They managed to give each other plenty of room to get through the corkscrew rather. And Aaron Vaguely unexpectedly, or quite as Aaron goes off the track onto the gravel. Yeah, Aaron Vaguely, a bit of a shock, possibly takes the Spec 2 lead.
And he really just needs to keep it together at this point, because Tom Gradwell's the next one down in Spec 2, so he just needs to bring it home from here. WeatherTech, in the meantime, comes up in 6th place, and that's after starting this race in 16th. He has made some great gain.
Absolutely. Also another person that's made some positions and great progress in the field as well as Daniel Sadro. He's managed to come from the bottom of the top 10 up into P5 at the moment.
We said that he tends to race a little bit better, and indeed from 11th to 5th for him. Meanwhile, we need to look at the front of the field because even though the win looks pretty well in the hands of Naselli, I'd say that this second place has to be sorted out. We ride on board now with Antonio, the 007, putting a lot of pressure on his side.
Yep, and Antonio Reyes is another driver that's improved massively as well. He had a pretty good end to the season last season, and showing his improvement once again up there, battling for a podium position, and also could take one more step up in the podium by finishing in second. But we've still got about 6 minutes 35 seconds to go.
Don't need to go to the replay, but Murakami had another spin in the corkscrew that sends him down to 14th after what was looking like an easy top 10 for him has certainly slipped through his fingers as it's now up to half a second. Antonio backing off a little bit on Fred Desai. Lap traffic pulling out of the way. That's Vandenberg.
Yep, and also I'm looking at Larry McLeod as well. McLeod has dropped back a little bit. He's around about 1 second behind, or 1.5 seconds behind. So maybe his pace has dropped off slightly, or Antonio and Fred are just a little bit quicker and managed to work together and pull away.
Larry McLeod, who had a phenomenal qualifying, couldn't quite back it up with the race. Still a fourth will be a lot of points for him. Hugh Haycox somehow has managed to recover at least something out of this. Now, granted, he qualified fourth place and he's down to eighth, but I expected him to be way farther back than this. He's dealing with Michael Dobeck, who we see here from the gearbox cam. Five minutes left to go as well, and with these laps taking about 1:40, we're running out of time here.
Yeah, considering the race that Hugh Haycox has had, it's been a bit up and down. He's actually done well to get back up into P8 at the moment, but Michael Dobeck is hustling.
And our Spec 2 leader, our Spec 2 leader is around in the corkscrew. I don't think he's given up the lead. I think he's got it going, but vaguely, I said he really just needs to keep this together. I think he had some help though. Regalado is right behind him. Oh yeah, he just shoves him off course, unfortunately. Almost looked like he was trying to bump draft him, but then maybe missed his brake marker.
Yeah, just watching the replay from Ramon's onboard. Oh, just got caught out by Aaron Brake, and just Aaron braked at his normal point, and Ramon just got caught out and unfortunately had nowhere to go but into the back of him. But yeah, Aaron's still got the Spec 2 lead, so he just needs to get it round to the finish, and he'll take the win.
It's got about the full front stretch ahead of the next driver. Meanwhile, we're taking a look at Naselli, the number 44, who put it on pole, has not led every lap because he took a little bit of an earlier stop before other drivers managed to go by. This is the driver that's trying to chase him, Fred Desai, but instead of chasing, he's being chased by Antonio Reyes. That is the purple and white machine, the pink and white machine that you see here. We ride on board with him now. I'm getting magenta from our director. I think any of them works. Using that slipstream a little bit up and over the crest of turn one, down into the Andretti hairpin. Oh, a lockup of the brakes there from Desai, trying to get it slowed up. The car of Dan Babich may be causing him to get distracted down into that hairpin. As we've got side-by-side action between Van Dormelen and Steve Elson, too, for 11th position. Van Dormelen manages to get that one away. Ian Haycox rocking up to them because of that battle.
Yeah, we've not really seen a lot of Stephen Elson in this race so far. I didn't even know he was on the grid. What's his bad on me? But yeah, a good drive by Stephen at the moment. He's up in P12 and could possibly take P11 possibly, as they've got about under 2 minutes and 20, or just under 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining.
I think it's going to be kind of tight, actually, on how many laps we have left. Oh, and Dan Sadro spins it at the I keep wanting to call it the carousel because we were at Road America earlier today. It's the corkscrew. And it's 2 laps to go, I can report, because Naselli's coming across the line now with time left. This is the onboard replay there of Sadro trying to get it going. And again, the frustration, it's a blind corner. You can't pull out in front of people. We take a look at second place. Reese gets within 1/10 of a second of Desai, but can't do anything with it. So put yourself in Antonio's shoes, Ryan. Where do you make the move? How do you make the move?
I'll try to fight. If you get a good exit on the final corner, you could try and make a move on the home straight, heading down to turn 1. Or if you get a good run through the kink heading up to the corkscrew, you could. It's a bit risky, but you could try making a move into the corkscrew. But that's the only places I can think of.
So he's only going to have a lap and a half to try and make it happen, because as they come through turn 6, the opportunities are dwindling away. He just got a decent run up the hill. Does he dare try it here into the corkscrew? No. Doesn't feel like he's got the pace over to side. The French driver doing everything he can to retain this second place over the Iberian driver. Naselli takes the white flag ahead of them as he rounds the final corner. It's actually not too far ahead. Did they gain some time on Naselli? It's 2.2 seconds. I wonder if Maurizio, now he had a decent pit stop. He shouldn't be short on fuel.
Yeah, he might. I was about to say, he might just be saving enough fuel to get round to the finish. I'm just watching Naselli now. I'm watching this gap to P2 and P3. Yeah, maybe Naselli's just maintaining his pace and just wanting to get to the finish, but these guys are closing on him quite quickly.
Right on board with Naselli here, because I'll give a shout if we wind up needing to go back to second place here. Let's see, is he lifting? Saying that turn, but it's down to 1.8. He's definitely going slower than those ahead. I don't know if he's at full song right now. So there's the speed comparison. Naselli, let's see, up at the top, he reaches 100, or not 100, he reaches about 98 miles an hour. I didn't get to see the size. It's about the same.
That gap is going down quickly though. That's down to about 1.3 seconds now.
If he does sputter to the line, Desai could wind up passing him right at the finish. He's got to have enough fuel. It's down to 1.5 seconds here. And Reese is still on the attack as well. How is that going to play out with this? He doesn't manage to get to the inside of Desai. Naselli comes off the final corner, and it looks like he's clear. Does he have enough to get to the finish? Yes, he does. Maurizio Naselli with the win. Desai just inches ahead of Reese at the line. Our podium all within 1.3 seconds of one another. McLeod finishes in 4th. WeatherTech with the top 5. Sadro, despite some issues, a 6th place. Hugh Haycox, a disappointing 7th for him. Just barely ahead of Michael Shaw, by the way. Looking to see if we have any other. I see Aaron Vagley, our leader in that Spec 2. Very close. Again, he does not need this 15th position. If he finishes 16th, he's still our winner. But it looks like it doesn't matter because Lero is not able to catch him. So Vagley. Oh, and Kern goes by Lero, though. He must have ran out of fuel right there at the end. But Vagley is our winner in the Spec 2 race today. And I think that's the last of our battles. We had only 26 cars left on the lead lap out of what was around 40 of them running at the end. That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Stick around because we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews On screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome to Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Excuse me, iRacing is not correct. This is here on the screen. The Weekend Warriors had their season opener, and Maurizio Naselli has taken the win. Since we didn't have David Gaspers here today to challenge them, they kind of just romped away, at least until the end, where he started to run out of fuel and made it awful close and nerve-wracking for any of his fans. Fred Desai, very, very close between himself and Antonio Reese. Second for Fred, third for Antonio, and there's your podium all within 1.3 seconds at the line. Larry McLeod with a great qualifying, jumping up from that Spec 2 field to take a fourth place in his first time racing for Spec 1. I'd say he is looking at some wins eventually someday. Miroslav Juracek with a fifth place is followed by Daniel Sadro in P6 and Hugh Haycox in seventh. Michael Shaw was right behind him at the line. Eighth place for him. Steve Elson, a bit anonymous today, but he went from 18th to 9th. And then Emil Orza rounds out your top 10.
Yep, finishing in 11th was Tim Van Dommelen, 12th was Ian Haycox, and 13th was Michael Dobek. Finishing in 14th was Ramon Regalado. Taking the Spec 2 win and finishing 15th overall was Aaron Vegley. 16th was Bob Kern. 17th was Alejandro Alero. 18th was Chris Marikami. 19th was Donald Fitterer. And rounding out the top 20 was Jeff Jacobson.
21st went to Sam Dick with Tom Gradwell in 22nd and Yuri Cox having a big hit at one point in this race. Probably took his spare car. He got back out there in 23rd. Jeff Cantor was 24th and then Paul Godden 25th. Last driver on the lead lap was Lucas Endeman, who was 26th. From there on down, it's drivers who wound up a lap down or more. Huge field out here today. And we are going to talk to our third place finisher, Antonio Reese, real quick about what was a phenomenal battle that not only happened on track, but in pit lane. Antonio, talk to us about those nervous moments where you were taking your pit strategy, and Fred Desai was as well. And it seemed like you two didn't know how it was going to end up until you even got to the pit exit.
Hello, good night, everyone. Yeah, it was a great battle. I was really surprised when I saw Fred getting in front of me, and then the guy was fighting with me. I don't remember his name in fourth place. He was a slower pit stop, so I came in front of him, and so yeah, he's the guy leading the second group championship. And yeah, it was a great battle. I was still trying to get place for the second place, but I think Naselli was running out of fuel or something like that. And then, well, it was a battle until the end.
Yeah, when you started to notice that you were gaining on Maurizio, did that urge you on to attack Fred more, or did you try to back off just in case it came down to coming to the line?
Yeah, I was trying to get them all and try to win, but it didn't work.
Yeah, but you still got a third place. That's going to be a handy 83 points today. I mean, how does this make you feel heading over to the Nordschleife, though? Because it's going to be a very different track, and I'm guessing survival probably is first on your mind there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be surviving mode on because I don't know well the track in the spec is very unstable there. So yeah, I need a lot of practice before and we have plenty 1 week to practice. So yeah, I think it will be a very challenging race. Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you there. And
Thank
again,
you.
congratulations on a podium. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you when we go to Germany.
We will see. I hope so. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. See you all.
That was Ryan Walker, or excuse me, that was Antonio Reese, rather, who finished third today. And that's going to be it for our interview because it seems we have nobody else who's interested in talking to us. So I'll have to get Maurizio and Fred to cue up their mics and come talk to us next race. A big thank you to our sponsor, once again, Sim Stickers, that can be found at simstickers.co.uk. They have been a sponsor for this series for a number of seasons, and it's certainly been a big help for the series. Also, thanks to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe. Very easy to do. Just scroll below the video here on YouTube, and you'll see a big red button that says subscribe if you haven't done so. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen proud to get hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Ryan, Sean, and Dougie, as well as a little help from Bill back in the background. Soup joined us today as a spotter. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Fram. As we mentioned, next round, we're heading over to the Nordschleife. That is usually a fun one in these cars. It'll be Sunday, March 22nd, 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.